Today is Monday, March 9th, 2026, and this is Spring Office Hours Season 5, Episode 9, Java Community Updates. My name is Dan Vega, Spring Developer Advocate at Broadcom, joined by my good friend and colleague, DaShaun Carter. DaShaun, how's it going?
It's a great day to be a Spring developer. Even better today than it was last week. Things are moving so fast, and I've learned so much since our last episode. I'm excited to be here. I'm jazzed to be here.
It was good to see you. I mean, we don't get that many times a year to hang out in person, so it was good to see you last week. I wanted to do a live office hours, but we just had so much going on.
There was so much going on, including the one, and look at, even Ted. The thing is, you were especially busy. And
yes.
I think maybe my favorite thing of the entire conference that we were at was the book signing.
That was so much fun. I wish we had more books. People kept coming up to me oh, I wanted to get one. And I'm like, you have to spend some of your hard-earned cash on it then.
Yes. Yes. And the other favorite thing, as I was sitting here thinking about what I learned last week, Tim, our good friend Tim Tabik, and all the things, I was reminded of my first Dev Nexus. When I walked in, I asked, hey, raise your hand. How many people have heard of Open Rewrite? And the difference between then and now was completely polar opposite. When I walk in, there's very few people that have not heard of Open Rewrite these days. And 4 years ago, it was the opposite. So just fantastic. I learned a lot from Tim. Outside of the hallway track.
The hallway track's always the best.
I learned a bunch. So it was good times.
All right, before we get into it, this is a reminder. Spring Office Hours is a free resource to you. We usually stream every Monday from 1 to 2. So if you are here, DaShaun, we do have a couple of rules if you're going to join us live.
Things, right? Say hi. Let us know where you're joining from, because my parents are always watching and they like to see that. But then also, when you come to my house for dinner, if you leave hungry, that's your fault. You're here. You've got questions. You're live. Ask your questions. If you don't, that's your fault.
Definitely your fault. And then we go ahead and take this and turn this into a podcast. You can go ahead and get this wherever you get your podcasts. You can also catch the live stream video replay on the Spring Developer YouTube channel. And as always, springofficehours.io, we revamped the website. If you go up there, you can look at the upcoming schedule. You can view past shows, check out the show notes for a show. Everything is up there, and that is a good resource for you.
And I always get so much good feedback. It is so nice when I travel and I get to see people in person. It's so nice to hear how many people enjoy Spring Office Hours. And still everybody's like, "You're here. Is Dan here?" I get that more than anything. Spring Office Hours. Oh, I'm a big fan. Are you with Dan?
It is a reminder because we sit here in our home office where nobody's around us. We see the comments, but you don't get that feel for how much you're helping out in the community until you get that feedback. And I got so much great feedback last week. It was awesome to hear. And again, I think we mentioned this a couple times, but when we go to conferences or customers, we see a small group of people. If I go to other conferences that I really enjoy, like KCDC, today is the last day to fill out your CFP, so make sure you get them in. That is a great conference, but there's also a small pocket of Java developers, Spring developers. I usually have to find them out, right? When you go to Dev Nexus, it's just everyone. That's all my peoples, right?
Yeah.
And I kept joking that it felt like a high school reunion, except all the people that I actually wanted to see.
Yep.
So it was a huge reunion, great people, great conversations. Everywhere I turn, somebody's hacking on a laptop. Oh, you got to see this.
Tons of great talks. And the hallway track was amazing. Yeah, seeing what everybody's doing, hearing which direction people are going. All right, everybody's moving. One of my favorite kind of overheard things was talking about software, just in general, and software being done like the laundry or like the dishes, right? It's done for a moment, but there's always more, right? You live another day, you got to do more laundry, you got to do the dishes again. Software is never done. And that really resonated with me. All of the ways that people are adapting and iterating on software and how much it's changed because of AI.
Do you remember when like Gmail first came out? They had the little beta label on it, and it was there for like 10 years. Like it's always in beta.
Totally get it. Yep.
All right, I want to talk about a couple things. First, I'll start there. Nate and I did a workshop, Fundamentals of Software Engineering in the Age of AI. It was based on the book, but the talk and the workshops that we've been given have been basically where we are with AI, right? And I hear a lot of things online like, do the fundamentals matter anymore? I wish I didn't go to school. I wish I didn't spend so much time learning this because we have these tools to kind of abstract that away from us. So we had an 8-hour workshop on it. And honestly, DaShaun, it was an 8-hour, we called it a therapy session.
Did you say 8 hours?
8 hours. 8 hours of me and Nate talking. It was a lot of fun though. It was a lot of back and forth. It was a group discussion. And like I said, it felt like a therapy session, which I feel like a lot of developers need right now, just to kind of like, all right, forget about the outside noise that you're hearing, the social media posts that your job is cooked. Let's just hang out and have a therapy session. And Ted was there. Ted shared some things in this therapy session. It was great. And I think like, it is hard to like, again, you spend a lot, if you like me, you spend a lot of time on social media, you hear a lot of the like pundits and you got to remember who's saying some of these things. One of the slides I had in there and we talked about was like, okay, well, companies like Anthropic are coming out and saying, we figured out coding like that. There's a verifiable outcome. We figured it out. We're on to the next thing. Right. Mm-hmm. And I said, okay, maybe they did, but that doesn't replace the need for software engineers. And here's why. We went over to Anthropic's website and looked at their job postings. Guess what they're hiring?
They updated it again today. I'm going to pull it up.
$500,000 or $600,000 jobs for software engineers. If you've solved it and you have all the tokens for free that you have alone, why are you hiring software engineers?
AI research and engineering, right? Like they are posting, right? These are things. Like, yeah, it's not done. We're not done.
There's a group down there of software engineers too. Yeah,
we're
software
not done.
Engineering, 30 open roles.
And
again, they're, and I believe them when Boris, who's the creator of Claude Code, comes out and says like, I'm using Claude Code to write 100% of my code. Great. I see no reason to not believe that. But also, they are Anthropic. Like, I don't think they're paying for tokens like the rest of us, right?
Yep.
And they are on the cutting edge of some of this stuff. When we talk to enterprise, I'm going to just throw a number out there. 80% of the organizations I talk to are still in an assessed phase. Like, hey, there are some of these cool tools out there. We're using them. But they're so, like, I'm not talking about enterprises themselves. I'm talking about the developers within the enterprise. Mm-hmm. They're so focused on working on the products that they're working on. Like, yeah, there are these cool tools out there, but I got to ship something in the next 2 weeks. Like, I'm working on that. And that is going to take a long time for them to get on the level of a Claude Code team, right? Yeah. And so it's surprising and it's not surprising that when I talk to some of those developers, they just don't know where we are yet because they are heads down, focused on the things that they're focused on, right? So
I like Ted's comment here. LLMs will solve problems that have already been widely solved, but lots of software needs different, uncommon solutions, right? Not everybody's sharing the problems that they have, especially if you're an enterprise, right? The types of problems that these enterprises have, and if they want to keep going, there's other problems that we're going to try to solve or that we need to solve still.
The other quote that I put up there was like, all right, I know all of us as software developers, we get into work, it's 7:59, we put our headphones on, 8 o'clock hits, all right, I'm going to start typing code. And you do that till 5 o'clock, right? That's the only thing you do is write code. Like that makes up a pretty small percentage of what we do. Like sometimes I remember like having to like block 2 hours off my calendar just so I could focus on writing code. Because so many of the other things that our role requires eats up my time. meeting with the business, meeting with product owners, trying to figure out like what we're working on next. Hey, we have these issues. Let's go triage these issues and figure out like what's important and what's not. Talking to different development teams. I mean, there's just so many things that go into our role that sure, maybe we have automated some writing of code, but we have not automated away the software engineer.
Yeah. The question is it going to take our jobs? No, I don't think it's going to take our jobs. Jobs are going to change. And you've got to be able to learn. You got to be able to adjust. If you couldn't figure out how to use a calculator, back in the 70s, yeah, you might have lost your job. You had to figure it out. Things are changing for sure. And what we're doing, that was the other interesting thing that came out last week, hearing how people were using the tools that they had. It was powerful, as from Glenn's use case, anywhere from like just writing my commit messages, right? I don't have to think about what my commit message, here's my changes, write a good commit message that fits these needs, these standards, like just little things like that. That's one less thing I have to think about, that I can keep my focus on the higher, more important things. But it's not, I think one of
my messages have been lately too, like, will things change? Yes. But like, you have to be, like you said, willing to learn and willing to adapt. If you want to stick your head in the sand and go, la, 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 like none of this is happening, then yes, you might be affected by that. And I'm not saying you need to go out there and like become a power terminal user and use all the tools, but like you should be aware of what these things are doing, right?
And LLMs are just like the calculator. They're not a magic button. If your organization is not the best, LLMs aren't going to fix it, right?
And I often find that, like, especially now as we're in like the tinkering phase, right? The individual developers or the smaller teams are probably able to move faster. When you have big organizations and big organizational structure, it's probably hard to move fast and break things, right? Like you have to be very methodical and plan things out.
Yeah, I like, right, Ted's another one. I also heard from several folks at Dev Nexus who have been tasked to apply the solution everywhere, these LLMs, instead of solving the org's problems.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember I was working on a consultancy for a probably one of the biggest logistics companies in the world. And they're like, hey, we have this problem. Like we have this backlog and we're not able to go through it. And we need to fix that. And one of their fixes was bringing us in to help with like architecture decisions and kind of fixing some things. But they also like wanted help guiding their teams. And they just, instead of having 40 developers, they thought they could just bring in 120 more developers and fix things. And I'm like, if you don't have the SDLC down, if you don't have this process down of how to build software, you could throw 500 developers at it. It's not going to fix the problem. It's just going to compound it, right?
Yeah, that's... Do you remember the book, The Mythical Man Month?
Yes, and Nate talks about this a lot. He has a couple of quotes from there.
And then that's probably why, because Nate talking about that book, I'm sure that's why it's popular, because it has definitely... there's been a resurgence just in the number of conversations that I have or that I'm listening to that are referencing that book and all of the truth that is in it. Right? There's a lot, everything old is new again. And yeah, these LLMs are another way that we're not going to fix all of our problems.
One of the things I wanted to talk about, we had at the Tanzu booth, we had these special cards, DaShaun.
Oh yeah.
I just want to say shout out to Michael Cote who put these cards together. They are amazing. And you could basically get a couple at the booth and then you could find there are 20 cards. You could find one of these speakers after their session and say, hey, can I get a card? And if you collect all 20 of them, you get to take it up to the booth and get a special prize. And for those people listening, I'm kind of showing them, I was able to collect all 20.
Got all 20.
Well, I had 19, and I'm like, who am I missing, DaShaun? We were going through it at the booth. Nope. I got Ryan Baxter. I got Phil Webb. I got DaShaun. I got Josh. I got Cora. Who am I missing?
Mark Pollock or Rob Winch?
I was missing me.
No!
I had got everybody's cards but mine. And I was like, all right, I got one of those. Let me put it in there.
There you go.
So yeah, I can't wait to like make something cool out of this. I might sell it on eBay for $1 million, but if it's less than $1 million, probably just going to frame it and put it in my office.
Yeah, I'm imagining. I did not get all 20. I
What?
think I'm just missing Mark Pollock.
Oh man.
But yeah, I think that's all I'm missing. I'll see if I can finagle my way to it. But yeah, I'd like to have them up on the board, framed in some way. So, yeah.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool. That was a lot of fun. And I think like people really responded to it. They were, after sessions, people were asking me for them. People would see me in the hallway. Hey, can I get a card?
It was cool. We saw something similar a few years ago at KCDC. Remember the speakers?
Oh, yeah.
But that was a different thing. Like we got it. That's nice for us.
Speaker, yeah.
But having the cards and the collectibles, like I thought that was a great idea. And I don't know. I've been hearing rumors that maybe that's going to happen again at Spring IO. I mean, I'm not. I can neither confirm nor deny. But
yeah, that does sound like a spicy hot rumor.
Yeah.
I don't play games a lot, but this is after the style of Magic: The Gathering. And what I heard was you can actually use these to play a game.
So I have a good friend that does play Magic weekly.
Oh, nice.
And yeah, I'm gonna bring it up and go over it and see like, hey, maybe there's a way to augment your deck.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Cool. So what else happened? We had the workshop.
Well, let me ask you.
Yeah.
What was the thing that you walked away with? I know you're a presenter and you're focused on presenting, but I think you got to hear, and you were in the hallway track, right?
Mm-hmm.
What is the thing that you left Dev Nexus with, like maybe top 3? Like, what are the things that you learned or you confirmed?
Yeah, I think, so number one, obviously everybody's talking about AI. I think that there is some real anxiety around like where the market's going. Like, yeah, we see people losing their job all the time. Is it because of AI? Am I going to lose my job to AI? But on the flip side of that, I heard a lot of similar conversations to what I was having, which was like, I'm really excited about this because it allows me to like build new things that I wouldn't have built before, or take on more like fun projects, or, just at work, solve the interesting thing instead of doing the mundane task that I hate doing. Right. So I think there's both sides of that. And that pretty much represents where I am too. Like, yeah, I'm uncertain about the future. I have my own thoughts, but who knows where this goes, like in a year or 5 years. But I'm also very excited about the things that are happening. So that was number one for me. Number two, the Java community is just alive and well. For as many times as anybody else outside the Java community has wanted to declare us dead, that is not happening anytime soon. There's a lot of innovation happening in this space. You know this, but Java keeps getting better every 6 months. Spring keeps getting better every 6 months. So I'm excited about the Java community. Not that I ever wasn't, but just being around the people, both presenters and just people there excited to like learn about Java. I think that that is alive and well. And then 3, I think just for me, like you, the hallway track. It was great being around so many people that I wanted, like haven't seen in a while, and got to see. Had dinner with our team, had dinner with some other teams. And just like, I don't know about you, but I need that. Like at home, I have a great team, but I don't get to work with them every day. I am here at home. And so being able to connect with people and kind of revitalize and like get yourself like energized.
Re-energize. Exactly.
Yeah. So I need that, especially at this conference. So how about you?
Yeah. I definitely agree. And that's like maybe like a personal realization that I do need, even though I love being able to work at home, but I do need for my soul, for my whatever, I do need to connect with my team. And I don't think once a year is enough. Maybe I'm comfortable once a quarter. I need to have some of this energy from you, from Josh, from Tim, from Ted, everybody. I need to have that so that I can, just feel good. So that matters. But that wasn't one of the big takeaways. The big takeaways that I had were on how people were leveraging AI in their day-to-day. What were they automating? What were they doing? And there was definitely a bucket of folks that were trying to, take something new to the enterprise. And I think that's where a lot of things fail. Just again, my perspective. I think where a lot of the success was had was where people were using AI with existing workflows. They were plugging in AI where they already had systems in place. They weren't trying to come up with something new or some new way to use it. They were trying to leverage these tools to improve existing workflows. And those tended to have a lot more success. And we're lucky, our framework, our Spring AI framework, plugs into a big portion of the enterprise workloads. So having success was easier for teams that were leveraging Spring AI, for example. The other thing that was top of mind for me was with all of this agentic workflow, I am very aware that not everybody has the same laptop that we do. Not everybody has the Apple Silicon and can run these LLMs and these agents on their laptop. I get it. And not everybody has access to the millions of tokens that it needs to run these things continuously in the background. So I was definitely aware and trying to wrap my head around how this is being done in the enterprises today. Where are these agentic workloads running? Because if it's just on the laptop, I put that into the bucket of code assistance and day-to-day developer organization productivity. But there's another bucket for what about these things, the same patterns, these agentic workflows that are running continuously for the enterprise. How is that being done? That's where where my head was over the week, and to hear how these are being taken to production is amazing. Those were kind of tops. And then I think the last one, kind of what was mentioned here, this codifying your standards. Our friend Tim Sparg did a presentation on that, like this ability or this need to simplify the number of patterns that we support, because these AI tools, these agents are going to be going down that path, and you don't want to let the agents come up with some new pattern, some new platform, something that's not yet supported. You want to kind of stay in the guardrails, in the guidelines of what's already supported. Deliver a solution with these tools that are on the menu, with these solutions, these patterns that are on the menu. That was a very, very hot topic. And I saw that consistently on teams are trying to simplify the path from idea to production. They're trying to simplify that, make it consistent so they can have more success. Because if there's 500 ways to take things to production and you're letting your AI come up with new ones, when it comes time to maintain that software or that solution, you're just going to have more problems.
Yep. Those are great. I like that. Yeah. We got to see a really good keynote by Rod Johnson. That he was awesome. He talked about Enable, but he also talked at a high level about where Java fits in the AI space. And he made a lot of compelling arguments of why we are, as a community, as a Java community, perfectly in a great place to use AI everywhere, right? Because of where the enterprises are.
I didn't get to see the keynote, but I did get to spend like 10 minutes talking with Rod Johnson about Enable and about where he saw things. And that 10 minutes was powerful. Yeah. I was telling him the exact same thing I just said, like, hey, where are these things going to be running? How are they going to be delivered? And we talked a little bit about OpenClaw. I talked about what I saw there. I was already kind of like doing.
I was right next to you during that conversation.
So I was having, his response on agent memory and just how things are running. Like this really like unlocked a couple of things that I had questions on.
Yeah.
So it was really valuable, and I took that and ran with it as soon as I got home.
Nice. All right. What else do we have here? I got a question here, and I wanna kind of hit this. So our good friend Simon says, instead of MCP first, learn how to work with skills and codify your standards. I will say this, there's a lot of confusion out there about MCP versus skills. And maybe we could talk about that for a second here because so MCP came out
Popular
by
topic.
Anthropic probably November of 2024. We're a little
Yep.
over a year old. Kind of really just took off. Everybody was doing MCP, right? They ended up turning this over to the Linux Foundation. This is open source. It's not just an Anthropic thing. You can use this across clients like ChatGPT or Gemini, whatever you want, right? Whatever client supports the MCP protocol. And then Anthropic came out with this thing called Skills. And I think people started looking at it like it's an either or. And it really is and for me. And
Absolutely.
so I'll come up with a quick scenario and maybe this will help shed some light. So back before any of these things existed, MCP or Skills, a lot of the chat interfaces, the chatbots, so ChatGPT, Claude.ai, they had these ideas of like projects or things that you could work on, right? And a project was like, hey, I don't want to have to type the same thing over and over again. So I used an example of maybe like, this is how I write a blog post. I'm going to feed you a topic. This is the format I want. Don't use these robot words. Have an intro and a conclusion in 3 points, whatever the case may be. A project was a way to like encapsulate the way, like a workflow for doing something. And then MCP came along and was like, okay, what do we want to use MCP for? We want to use it to basically bring additional context or bring some additional actions to the large language models. So an example of this is I wrote a Beehive MCP server, and this would allow me to work with my newsletters API. So in Claude Desktop, I could basically say, hey, I wrote my draft, go get that contents. And then in this project, here are the project specific instructions for turning that into Markdown. So for me, a skill is a repeatable task. If you find yourself doing something over and over again, like reprompting the same thing, that's something you can turn into a skill. That doesn't replace the fact that I need to like augment the large language model's capabilities. So for me with my newsletter, I have an MCP server that is able to get information via the API. So it has tools, it can get it. It has resources, it has prompts, it can do all those things. But the repeatable process is me actually taking that newsletter that I just got and turning it into the correct markdown. So for me, that's a skill. So there are a lot of places where it could be maybe one or the other, depending on what you're doing. But a lot of the times now, there's probably a clear solution where you should use an MCP server and what you can like turn into a skill. So I find it just, more things that we can do to like fix some of the workflows that we've been working on. And I know that's been coming up a lot lately, so I figure we can just chat about it.
As we saw in 2025, every solution, every, inside the enterprise, these MCP servers were being delivered, and the software products that we buy off the shelf were being delivered with MCP servers. We saw that. Towards the end of 2025 and now in the beginning of 2026, we're seeing these skills that are, hey, you got access to our product. Here's some well-defined ways to leverage that product.
Right.
We know that you're doing these workflows. We know that you've got these LLMs, these agents running on your laptop. Here's some additional skills that, everybody's delivering that can augment what you're doing, so you don't have to come up with them all yourself. So we're seeing now the tools that we put into our tool belt. We're seeing a change, right? The MCP servers are going to be there, but also when I point, these are things where we're going to be pulling information from, just like you're explaining, and these skills are going to be how I leverage it. So two different.
If you find yourself doing that repeatable process, hey, this is a skill that we can go ahead and create to reuse. And the same way with MCP, the one thing I love about skills is they are not specific to Anthropic. It is a folder structure. It is skill.md. There can be other folders or other files for resources that you can use within a skill. But I could take that over to ChatGPT. I could take that over to Spring AI. So I could build my agents in Spring AI with skills. So I could have some different skills there. These are like an open standard now that we can use everywhere.
So I definitely went over, we had the series that started in January on the Spring AI and the Spring AI agent utils and that whole series. I definitely did my review of that, and it's opened the door. Like, we can leverage these. I don't have to do Claude or Copilot or other. I can actually use them all, right? We have the tools now where we can start to manage multiple agents, and we can not only pull ones off the shelf, like we've just mentioned, but we can also build our own for specific things where we don't have to send our information to the LLMs, to the foundational models, and train their data. We can do all this stuff locally. Things are moving so fast. And Spring AI has continued to be kind of ahead of the game with giving us these abstractions so that we can leverage the best of the best. As soon as something new comes out, we're able to take it for a spin. And this is the other thing on this same thread is I started to hear a lot on the patterns, right? We had the, what was the Simpson one? The Ralph Wiggum approach, the get stuff done approach. And then we had like this get work trees. There's these different patterns that people are leaning into. And I definitely heard a lot about the get stuff done approach. And surprisingly, the amount of people, I don't know if this is for everybody, it seems kind of complex, but this get work tree approach to having multiple branches and different agents working on branches, I heard a surprising amount of people going down that path.
Yeah, that's interesting. So if you're not familiar with it, basically, if you're working on a single code base, I have this project that I work on, and I want to do 5 things at once. You can't really do that right now, right? Like, if you try to do that, and you have different agents, they might bump into each other. They might change the same file. Like, we don't do that as a development team, right? We would usually check out a new branch from develop or whatever branch we work off of. We would work on our feature, and we would code review it and then merge that back into whatever branch, right? So work trees is a way of doing that locally. You can basically take that and say, I'm going to create a copy A, copy B, copy C so that we can do these things, and then we'll kind of pull those back to the main thing that we're working on. They are very nice. They are very handy. But if you want to work on, like, I guess it just matters like your approach to working on things, right? For me, I would much rather come up with a plan and say, these are the 10 things that I want to work on. I don't know about you, but I can't context switch enough to realize, like, are these 10 things that I'm working on getting done the correct way? That's like too much cognitive overload for me. Yeah. So for me, it's like, let's come up with a plan of what to work on, create a task list, and then find a way to like work on each of those separately. I get it in the case that, like, I'm working on this one-off thing, then I'm working on this other one-off thing, then I'm working on this other one-off thing. But for me, it's usually never just like one-offs. It's like, let's come up with a plan and figure out how to work on those. So yeah, they're all different approaches. What the nice thing is there are all these different approaches for however you like to work, right?
Absolutely. There's another piece here, right? Simon is saying like work trees are so handy, right? I got to see it, right? I didn't just want to like, don't let me hear it. Like, I got to see how people were, opening up multiple terminals, the TMUX, and like watching and like, hey, when something needs help, getting their feedback, messages are coming up, tied directly into their operating system. I got to see some of that. The other thing here that I heard a lot of right here was the whole idea of prompts that we were doing. I heard this thread, and I don't know if this is exactly where we're going here, but this idea of, I don't use prompts. I use prompts to write skills, and I use skills.
Yep.
And that's the approach, so that I have this consistent way of handling things. The magic here is there's very few are leveraging just one LLM. Right. Yep. For the developers, at work, maybe they only have access to Copilot, but Copilot opens you up to a bunch of LLMs. Even if you're on Anthropic, there is a bunch of different LLMs that they serve a different purpose. They have a slightly different voice, or they respond with less tokens, less back and forth. So they figured out, or they're figuring out when to use different LLMs for different purposes. And now you can actually plug that into your skill. So you're like, hey, for this, I want to use that model.
Right. I have 3 things here. One, work trees. they've been around forever. If they're
Yes.
so handy, why have we not used them until last year?
Yep. They have been around forever. And
Maybe the
now
one percenters were using it, but I've never used a work tree until maybe 6 months ago. So that's one thing. Two, I will say I've heard the same theme that prompt engineering is kind of going away. Remember how much time a year ago we focused on if you're not getting what you need out of the models, it's probably your fault. You're not prompting correctly. You have to like specify a role. What is the outcome? Like, what is the tone? Like, you had to be very specific with your prompt. I find myself less concerned about that these days, probably because the large language models are getting better. They're really darn good at what to do. But yeah, I do find the idea of prompt engineering kind of going away, which I think I'd mentioned at some point. This is not going to be a thing anymore. And the idea of context engineering, right? Now we're trying to augment the LLM with whatever context or tools we can make available to them.
Absolutely.
And I'll say one more thing with skills. I find a lot of people just asking AI to write them a skill, and I think that's not a great approach. I definitely use AI to help me write a skill. But for me, a skill is like, again, it's this repeatable process that I have been doing manually that I want to turn into a skill. Or it's some process that I want to automate that I have inherent knowledge about. So I'll give you another example. A lot of times, I think we've talked about this before, but when I create a new Spring Boot 4 app, I find it falling on its face to do a couple of things. Like it runs into issues with Jackson, because now we support Jackson 2 and 3. It wants to use an object mapper instead of a JSON mapper. It rewrites some of my dependencies. Now that we moved over to that Spring Boot 4 modularization, like we use web MVC instead of just web, right? And I find it rewriting the old dependencies because that's what it's trained on. So in that case, like, okay, I'm running into this issue over and over again. How do I solve it? I could stick a bunch of things in my Claude MD, but I've heard we don't want to load a whole bunch of context every single time in every single session. Also, that doesn't scale well to my next project. So that's where a skill could come in. A skill could come in and say, hey, if you're working on a Spring Boot 4 app, these are some things you should keep in mind. You know, with Jackson, with the modularization, use JSpecify when possible. So I could write a skill around that, and I have done so locally. And so yes, I use AI to help me generate some of that skill and some of the boilerplate in there, but I'm putting some thought into that. I'm not just going, hey, Claude, write me a Spring Boot 4 skill with everything in the kitchen sink, right? So yes, use AI for that stuff, but also like put some of your expertise into this and put a plan together for how to build that skill out.
Absolutely. In this, like what's the role? There's still a topic I'm learning, getting my head wrapped around from Simon Martinelli, who we should probably have on the show at some point.
We should.
Around this AI unified process, right? He is all about spec driven. You know, when we want to talk about full software development lifecycle, he's plugging in, this is what's needed in order to do this agentically, right? With AI. So yeah, I'm still getting my head wrapped around it, still kind of exploring and learning, but yeah, I see value in understanding, the full life cycle, the full development cycle. There's value there.
I think one of my other messages has been, I think we're all overwhelmed. I did this slide where it's like, here's what we're supposed to learn this week. And I popped up all these bubbles with skills and MCP, and like all this stuff is thrown at us. And like, we are tinkers. We want to learn new things. But like, I haven't stopped learning this thing, and now you're asking me to learn these 57 other things. Don't get overwhelmed by that. Like, when you need something like an MCP server or skill, you'll get there. Like, work on the foundational stuff, like understanding LLMs, understanding things like tools and context, and build from there incrementally. Don't feel like you have to go out and learn all of these things tomorrow.
My thought, Glenn, kind of like said it the best. He's like, I'm using AI where I can, where I'm allowed to. And one of the things he does, just for writing the commit messages, like that's just a simple thing. And if you can just pick one of these approaches, right, whichever flow you're gonna do something simple where it adds value, where you can start to focus on more important things. That's the goal,
Yeah.
Simplify the easy stuff, the low level stuff that is just wasting your time. Simplify that stuff using AI so you can focus on the more important things.
Yeah.
That's going to be the difference. If you can simplify as much of your role as possible so you can focus on more important things, the things that AI can't do for you.
Right.
Yeah, I think you're going to put yourself into a good position or better position.
We did that in the workshop. You know, it depends where you are in your journey, but like if you haven't learned some of the smaller ways to automate things, don't get caught up in like these autonomous agents that are running 24/7 and solving everybody's like that's you're not going to jump in the deep end of the pool, right? You want to dip your toe in the water. And we took a list down of like, what are some things that you do today that you'd like to automate, right? And as you said, things like commit messages came up, documentation, tests, coming up with a plan for what we're going to build, right? These are all little things that you can start with. Start there. Don't worry about what somebody else is using these tools for right now.
You brought up the tests. Our friend, Phil Reeks, I think I'm saying the last name right?
Philip Reeks. Yep.
Yes. Amazing around tests. I don't remember, but I think he released a set of skills around testing. Modern
nice.
Spring.
That's
top of my head. I
tracks.
don't have the link. I will add that to the show notes. But this type of stuff, those are that's the common stuff. And we heard that from Bruno on a show a couple weeks ago that, that's what we're doing to write tests, to add our documentation. Documentation is more important than ever. So valuable stuff. Good. That's a good list. I'm glad that your workshop came up with that list.
Yeah. Something else around the idea of skills. I didn't get to attend a bunch of sessions. I always go in like, oh man, I'm looking at this schedule. I want to see all these sessions. And man, we were just so busy that last week that I didn't get to go to every session that I wanted to. But I did attend a session from Simon Maple, who runs the virtual Java user group. And he works for a company now, Tessel. I hope I'm saying that. I hope I'm saying that.
That's how I say it. Yeah.
And they have a product that fits in really well with some of these skills. So we write all these skills, right? And I think you've talked about it before, or maybe you were talking about it with James and Josh. There's no way to like verify a couple of things on skills. One, are they security risks? Are they doing what they have said they're going to do? So I believe their software, one, scans that. Mm-hmm. But two, it also scans it to find like, okay, everything that you've said this skill can do, is that something we really need to put into a skill? So I'll give you an example. If I was writing like a Spring Boot best practice skill, mm-hmm. and the one skill I put in there was always favor constructor injection over field injection, right? I could write that skill. But I don't know about you, but I've never really come across that problem. It seems like the models are trained well enough to favor constructor injection. So what their tool can go through is look at is like, okay, this thing that you've told us that you need to do, is it really needed? Like, let's go through a bunch of scenarios and find out if this skill is warranted, I guess is the best way to say it. And it gives you like a score, like this skill that you have is like, was used 95% of the time, definitely usable. This one that you've defined here, it was 5%. I don't know that this is really a skill that needs to be included, right? So I thought that was really interesting. There's some more tooling coming up around the idea of skills.
I like that idea, but to that case and that example of, it was only used 5% of the time, depending on the model. Right. Mm-hmm. I do bounce across these models, and some models that I've got running on my laptop are still doing field injection. So this skill, to pick one, is definitely valuable. I do want that in my skill. I do want to make sure, because when I'm using like a tiny dolphin or an older version of Llama Coder or something, I want that.
I think there was a way that he had like picked models for that too. Like you could pick like Claude and then go over to Open Dolphin or whatever and like see where that like lies. So
that makes sense. I definitely, that's Tessel has definitely been on the radar, if you will, for they're doing a lot of interesting stuff. They're definitely at the front of the pack on being aware of what's going on. And Simon has just been incredible for years.
Simon's awesome. Yeah.
Whatever,
he had a standing room only. So I was like in the back. I didn't get to say hi to him, but if this gets back to you, great job, Simon. That was an awesome presentation.
Yeah. And would love to have you on the show. Just saying.
Ooh, that would be fun. We could talk about that.
Yeah.
That would be cool.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll reach out to him.
Yeah.
Cool. Now I know you did a couple presentations too. How'd they go?
I did. I had a lot of presentations.
I
had 3. I only ended up doing 2 of them due to unforeseen circumstances. But yeah, I did one with Tim Spark on like this idea of cleaning up the path to production, right? Making it so that we have an easier time, so we can leverage these agents. And the underlying thing, right? The talk changed since the day that we started it to where onboarding, the importance of onboarding is more than just for developers. It's now similar concern for agents. The guardrails, the ease at which you can onboard a developer is going to map directly to the ease at which you can onboard an agent. And I came up with Sparg's law. Sparg's law is that if your onboarding is not great, your developer experience will not be great. If your onboarding is great, then your developer experience will probably will match, right? That's the idea. And the same goes for agents. So that was one of the talks. The other talk was, I think, modernizing, refactoring the ROI software. The idea that the stuff that we do or don't do affects the cost of the software that you write. This idea that software is done just like the laundry, right? That matters. We're always going to be taking care of the things that we're building our enterprise on top of. And it's up to us as developers usually to define and to do that. We're going to put automation in place, but what we're trying to do, what we want to accomplish is get the most bang for the buck. I could surely run a Python app, and I'm not picking on Python, but yeah, I am a little bit. Right? There's a lot of things that we could run with Python that's going to take 20 times more resources, and it's going to be slower, so we're not going to get the same throughput. If I do that same thing with Java, with Spring, for example, I'm going to get a better utilization. But even if I've chosen Spring, the things that I did last year, with Spring Boot 3.4, for example, are going to be better today if I can upgrade to Spring Boot 4.0 and I can upgrade to Java 25. But I get that opportunity at least every 6 months because there's always a new version. But it's more than that, right? It's also the CVEs that are coming out, and we're always connecting more and more technologies. The things are moving. So that was my other talk. It was just about modernizing software. It's not a one-time thing. It shouldn't be done in a one-shot process. It should be done continuously in the background, and you should have a path to do that.
And that takes effort, and not in the form of your boss coming to you and saying, our security team is yelling at us, we need to upgrade. Like, that shouldn't be the reason you clean your room because someone yelled at you, right? You should clean your room because you want a clean room. And that's tough to get across. But as you said, if you could put a process in place that, might take a little work up front, but like once you get that process in place, you can continuously do that. That will pay off in the long run. What was the line? You had a line from Kent Beck on testing.
Oh, he had a great little article, and what he was talking about, similar to like code is cheap, software is not. The idea, his approach is like, I don't care if your LLM can get me 80% of the way in 5 minutes. Right. I combined his answer. He's like, don't give me the 80% of the way. Tell me how long is it going to take to get me the entire way. That's all I care about. How long is it going to take me to get to the destination using this? Yes, I get it. 80% of the way, shorter amount of time. But then our friend, Andrew Clay Schaefer, I have his talk track in the back of my head. He's like, hey, you use LLMs to get you 80% of the way. Now you've only got 80% of the work to do. Right? It's not proportional, the work that the LLMs do versus the comprehension to understand that last 20%. It doesn't, the math doesn't math. So don't show me how fast you can get to 80% or even 90% of the way. I don't care. How long does it take you to get something done at the same enterprise grade, production ready?
It's funny. I'm seeing that come up in my personal life now. I have a friend of mine who is basically vibe coding some apps, who's never programmed anything before. I was like, look at this cool thing I built. And it runs and it works, But now I'm getting more questions from this person. Like,
Mhm.
how do I get this thing to production? How do I make sure this thing is secure? How do I integrate with something like Stripe and make sure that credit card payments are successful and can be done monthly? And I'm like, yes, these are the problems we
Yeah,
have to solve. Like,
exactly.
not getting a screen to look nice and
Yeah.
and push to get, like, those things are easy. The first 80%, not hard. The last 20%, pretty
Yeah.
hard to do.
On that same note, and then I want to get to James' question
Yeah.
here. That same note, I've seen now a lot of these other fields, non-professional software engineers, actually delivering things. And I've seen now a few of them where, hey, it's small company, I do siding, or I'm a plumber, and they
Yes.
vibe coded these apps specifically for their needs, where they were able to stop paying for the 5 different tools that they were using, the 5 different SaaS solutions.
Yep.
And they got a use case, they got software that just works for them, and that's all that they care about. Not something that they're, delivering to the world. It's not something they have to integrate, with a bunch of different things. It works for them, and I've seen that, and I think there's going to be more of that going forward.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's great. As we keep saying over the last 2 years, Satya Nadella's quote really sticks with me, which it lowers the floor and raises the ceiling.
It lowers the floor and raises the ceiling.
He says, I think that's quite frankly what AI does. It lowers the floor and then raises the ceiling. So it lets more people in. Those of us who can wield the power, we become more productive, right?
Absolutely.
There are some good questions here. I want to start with Lawrence's, not really a question, but I've got a mental model as inputs, which are prompts, contexts, MD files, compute, skills, tools, extensions, MCPs, output, what I actually want. That's a great mental model to have.
And I take his mental model and I'm mapping that in my head exactly to that AI unified process with Simon and Babel, right? This how do I get from these things to my desired outcome? In Babel's goal-oriented action planning. I have that same model and I'm using it as well.
Oops. Okay, so that's gone. Here's another one here. Hey guys, speaking of agents, I had a question. If there's a big difference from creating an agent using Spring AI versus using something like ADK or some other framework in general. No, I mean, at the end of the day, we're just creating agents, right? And it just depends where that agent needs to live. Is it going to live within the confines of a Spring app? Then Spring AI makes a lot of sense. Do you know Spring AI and Java and the Spring programming model? Probably easier to get started with that, right?
Yep.
If you are a Python developer and you have some frameworks over there to do this in, and you're not familiar with this, then you probably use the things that you're familiar with. It's all about, Spring AI gives you all the tools to create these different types of agents. It really is depending on where is it going to live and what skills do you have. And that's for Skills Miller. So he's got skills.
Yes. And what I would say is keep an eye on Spring AI community, because a lot of the things, A2A, ACP, a lot of those things are implemented and they're just in the community projects and they're amazing. Take a look there because, you can use Spring AI to deliver a lot of these other amazing integrations.
I am going to put that project in here. There's a project over on the Spring AI community called Spring AI Agent Utils. If you haven't had a chance to look at that and you're looking to build agents in Spring using Spring AI, that is a project that you will want to take a look at.
Yes.
Right.
I'm going to also find that link to Philip Reek's announcement. I'll make sure that we have that for our...
Yeah, and I believe he's got a workshop coming up at Spring AI. So if you're going to Spring AI, make sure you check out Philip. He's got a lot of great content on there about testing. So definitely check that out.
I subscribe to his newsletter as well.
Yeah, same here.
So good stuff. Our community is amazing.
I know, it's great. And last week was just that reminder. I mean, I didn't forget it, but every now and then you need that reminder. why do we do this? Because a paycheck's never enough. Like, you know, what are we doing this for? And to be involved in this great community, to be able to share knowledge with each other, to be able to learn from each other, and inspire others. That was a common theme for me, and you forget that sometimes. And so it was really great to kind of see that in full force last week.
Absolutely. Good stuff.
Makes my heart smile, DaShaun.
Yep. I like it. I like it a lot. Fills my heart. Well, this is good. We have a lot more coming. And yeah, I think early in the conversation, we're right around the corner from Java 26.
We are. I am going to Java 1 next week, where I'm pretty sure that's being released. Is it not? We are in March. Yes.
Yep.
So Java 26 coming out next week. Maybe Billy's going to be a little bit packed next week because of Java 1, but maybe we should see if we can get Billy on the following week.
Yeah. And I think because of Java 1, maybe, the following week. Let's see if we can get Billy. It's kind of a tradition. So
yes, we've had Billy on a lot, and it's great to hear from him and get a roundup of everything that's going on. And Ted will be there. So that's great.
Fantastic. So this is good.
Yeah, it'll be a lot of fun.
Well, everybody, always a good time. You know, this community is thriving. Java is dead for the 31st year in a row. And let's see what happens going forward with Java 26.
All right. Go out and build something, everyone.
Go build
something. Hope you have fun. All right.
Fantastic.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Thanks. See you next time.